and counting. South Africa claiming the top position amongst 20 countries in the Absa Africa Financial Markets Index. Why is it important? Grant Klintworth is the global head of market at Absa Africa Group. Why did we need a study to tell us this, Garth?
Hi, Bruce. Evening to your listeners. The report is an instrumental piece of research that enables African countries to develop their capital markets and to enable investors to make decisions to invest wisely. And this report assists both investor and country to develop their capital markets, improve their capital markets, which ultimately feeds into the man in the street in terms of the ability to get infrastructure and to get a vibrant capital market which can help their economies grow.
I mean, when you talk about financial market development, just elaborate on what that means. We know the JSE. We are familiar with the JSE. I don't think we appreciate nearly enough just how complex and sophisticated and well-developed the JSE is. But just take me through this concept of financial market development.
So you're right, Bruce. South Africa is got an incredibly strong capital market platform, and that translates into a lower risk premium, which ultimately means that the price of capital to enable infrastructure development, economic growth, and for companies to really provide growth opportunities is very attractive. And on the continent, capital comes at a premium, and capital is not in great supply. So what this index does is it tries to measure in the 6 pillars the different things that are important to enable capital to come to a country at an attractive price. And this index basically rates those 6 pillars to enable not only governments to understand what they should do to improve their capital markets, to understand what the potential deficits are, and it's a safe place to have these conversations. So investors appreciate this index, and the countries themselves do, so that everyone can strive to basically developing a market that enables capital to come a little bit more abundantly and at a better price.
I mean, many African stock markets have got a handful of shares. They open for a couple of hours a day, if they open at all. Who are our closest rivals? I mean, I would assume South Africa is a country mile ahead of most other African economies when it comes to the development of financial markets.
Yes, Bruce, we are ahead of everyone, obviously. We've had many years to do that. Our closest rival is Mauritius. They scored 75 on the index for 2019. South Africa's score was 88. Then we have Kenya at 65 on the index and Namibia at 65. This index doesn't just look at equity markets. It looks at all forms of capital. So it also includes the debt market. It looks at things like foreign exchange. It looks at legal frameworks. So there's quite a lot that goes into making a capital market other than just an ability to list a share.
And I suppose this is a good thing, considering that South Africa needs to be seen and needs to continue to be seen as a credible entry point for many investors into other parts of Africa. For many years, we were the only entry point. Now we're seeing these economic trading blocks develop in East and in West Africa. And we really need to up our game if we want to maintain that sort of nominal dominance in terms of being the preferred entry point for global corporates into this continent.
Absolutely. South Africa will always play a pivotal role, and obviously we don't want to drop in the index or have our standing downgraded. I think South Africa is in a good position to continue to improve and to continue to allow capital to come here. We've had other exchanges come in and licenses being given that can compete with the JSE. So South Africa is still progressive. We've seen the JSE do infrastructure projects, IT projects that makes us more first world in terms of compliance. So South Africa continues to progress on this space.
Most certainly does. And in terms of the scale and the size of our market, it feels pretty unassailable. But then there was the time when we saw ourselves as the world leader in audit and reporting standards and the world leader in so many other aspects of business. There is a very strong suggestion here that one can never be complacent about one's position in the world.
Yes, and we shouldn't be. And I think you are right. I think governance around the world is getting more scrutiny because, sadly, governance in certain areas has disappointed. And what this index does is it creates a safe place for external or independent research to be done that is credible, that gives a third-party independent view around these factors. And that enables investors and users of capital or suppliers of capital to just get another viewpoint of this independent opinion on different things that are important to a capital market. And one of those is absolutely governance. And yes, South Africa, like other places in the world, needs to make sure that we still strive to have a gold standard rating.
We most certainly do. Garth Klintworth, thank you, the global head of market at Absa Africa Group. This evening's Africa Business Report.